Welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be discussing about Keycloak, open source identity and access management system. You can do the user authentication, authorization. It also supports various standards, including OpenID, OAuth, SAML. You can use it as an identity provider or identity broker. It does support adaptive security, including MFA password policies. You can manage the identity and access management system using a centralized console. It also supports SSO. Use cases: you can use this system to support your mobile and web applications that include B2B, B2C systems. So some of the components of Keycloak, first we will start with the realm. Basically it's a logical group where you can create your users, group, roles. So we are talking about users. It's a set of users who will be using this particular system. And the groups, users will be part of a group, and a group will be having some permission or a role. Also, we can create a client. Basically, we can have two set of a client. One is the confidential client, and the other one is the public client. Public client, let's assume that you have a front-end application that needs to generate a authentication token. You will be creating the public client. And say you have a service to service communication, in which case you will be using the confidential clients. Client scope: when you generate a token using a client, what exactly needs to be part of the token, it's what we can manage with client scope. There are many other features that we will look into it. When we compare the identity and access management system, so basically we have this Azure Entra ID and Okta on Keycloak. So Azure Entra ID, it's tightly integrated with the Microsoft ecosystem, and it is subscription based. Varilla is the third party product. It's one of the best software as a service tool that you can use for your identity and access management. Again, this is based on the per user license, maybe a little bit more than what you will pay for your Microsoft Entra ID, because it has all those bells and whistles. And Keycloak, basically it's a open source and it is free of cost. But in case if you need support, then you can always go back to Red Hat supported version, where you will be paying a bit to get your support. We will say everything in the portal. So when you log in, this is how the Keycloak console will look like. Now I am running with the server version 26.25, which is the latest and greatest one. So first we need to create a realm. I said realm, it's a kind of a logical grouping where you can manage the users, groups, permission, everything together. To do so, click on this manage realm, click on this create realm, fill up this information. So in this case, I am going to create one Keycloak test, and of course you will enable it. So when you do so, the realm will get created. As you see here, now I'm into the Keycloak test realm. So now what we do, we will first create the permissions or roles. If you click on these roles, this is what it will look like. It will have some default roles, basically used for by the system in order to perform certain actions. So now what we can do, we can click on this create role and fill up this information. So I just did one here. As you see here, I created a role or a permission called owner. You can provide a description associated with other roles. You can do many other things. I just wanted to keep it simple, so I just created a role here. Now that we have a role or a permission, we can create a group and provide the permission to the group. To do so, click on this group, click on this create group. You need to fill up this information, basically the name of the group that you want to create, which I did. Call it as a owner again. So the group by itself got created here. So if I go to the group, if I go to the group here, where you can assign the permission. So click on this assign role, and then you can pick up the permission that you wanted this group to have. In this case it is going to have a owner permission. So now let's so for what we have done, we created a permission or a role and assigned to the group. Now time to create a user. To do so, click on this users, click on add user. When you do so, it is going to ask you to fill up some of this information, which I will show you in a moment. So I created a user called Keycloak user01 and provided some of this information that includes the username, email address, first name, last name, whatever is that. So I just provided all of those information. As well as this user should be part of the owner group. That is what I have done. I have added the user into the group here. You can also directly assign the permission here. In this case, I'm not directly assigning the permission. Rather, the standard is that create a group role, assign to the group, then assign that group to a user. Right. So that's what we have done. Now, in order to validate, you need to create a client. So remember, like we discussed, there are two set of clients that we can create. One is the public and the confidential client. In this case, we need to have a public client because it's more of a front end. It's trying to use this user information, user credentials to generate a token. So I need to create a client here. Click on this create client button here. So you will be provided with this particular form. You have to fill up all of this information. In this case, I'm going to use the uh, OpenID connect as a client type and fill up all of this information, which I have done here. So I created a public client, and for testing purposes, I am not limiting to any redirect URLs. Like basically, like anybody can access this. But in production or in real life, you will be using your exact URL that your application should use to make a call to the Keycloak. So in this case, it is all going to be everything. I just have this standard flow and direct access flow. So basically, you can use the authentication grant type as a password, right? So that is what we have done here. I think that's about that. And now we can go back to Postman and see how does it work. You can request a token, access token. It's to use that Keycloak URL and the realm name. Like this, basically, this is the format that you have to use. Keycloak URL and the realms Keycloak name, like realm name, and the its endpoint. And basically, you will be providing the username, password, and the client that you created, and the grant type, it's obviously it is going to be the password. So when you click on that, it is going to generate a token for you. So basically, if you see here, it has both the access token and the refresh token, using which you can access. Basically, it's a token, right? It's a JWT token. So it has all this information about this particular user. Who is this user? What permission this user has? All of those will be there in this particular token. Keycloak being the identity provider, now we will see how do we use Keycloak as an identity broker. So before we do so, there is a settings called realm settings wherein you can manage the configuration at a realm level. Then we have this authentication flow. So basically it means that when a user is authenticated by an external system, what are all the steps that you want to perform before you generate your authorization token, right? So in this case, I created a auto link that is my custom flow. So if you see here, it does only two things. It basically create a user if a user doesn't exist, but if a user exists, then if there are any changes, update those changes in your Keycloak. So to configure the identity broker, you have to set up your identity provider. You can, these are the options that you have. So in my case, I'm going to use OpenID Connect. Basically, I'm going to connect with Azure Entra ID. So Azure Entra ID, in this case, it is going to act like an identity provider, but the Keycloak will be my broker. my applications, my front end and back end application will be directly interacting with the Keycloak, but the end users will be authenticated against Azure Enter ID. So now let me click on this open connect v1. So you have to fill up this information. From where do you get the information? I will show you. So you need to create a service principal. It will be something like this. You just create a service principal and get this information. Here it says that the metadata document. You need this information. Then this is how you configure your service principal. Basically, you have to get the redirect URL here. Redirect URL, you can get it from here. Also, you have to enable these options so that the additional tokens, additional claims will be part of your token. And then you need to create a secret. Then the token should have these claims. You just add it here. And this client should have directory level access to read the user profile. So these are the permissions that it needs. Then you can create a group in your Azure Enter ID. I call it as a owner group. And then you create a user here. I call it as a Keycloak AD user 01. And this user will be part of this particular group. So I added that user into the group. All this configuration, let's go and finish up the configuration. So these are the options that you will be enabling. You use the client ID and client secret, and you use the flow that you created. Sync mode, it is going to be import. Then we can also create a mapper. So basically what I'm going to say is that, hey, when you receive a token from Enter ID, you have to look for a specific information from that particular token. In this case, it's a group claim, and the name of the value of this claim should be matching with this ID given below, which is basically your Azure Enter ID group. If it matches, then you add that user into the owner's role. Now we are kind of done with the identity broker setup. Now we have to create a client. So in this case, I'm going to create a confidential client. Basically, this client will have so unlike a public client where you do not have the credentials, this client will have the credential. So using which you can generate a token. I will show you. It's a two-step process. First, you will be requesting a code from Enter ID, and using the code you can request for an access token from your Keycloak. Now let me go to the browser. You see here you will be prompted like this. Either you can use the username password, or you can click on this AAD here. Now you will get the token here. Let me copy this here. So I need to get the code. Just get the code and update the code. Now we can use this curl command to generate the access token. So basically what happened here is that as a user I am authenticated against Enter ID, and I provided with the code. Using the code I can get an access token from Keycloak. So basically so that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching.